The biggest thing in the 8.4 patch for jungle is the remover of tracker knife. That's pretty much been an essential part of jungling.
I don't know if I like it or love it or not, since I've been using tracker's knife my whole life.
No, I'm not going to miss the tracker's knife. I think that the jungle is going to go back to more carry. Carry junglers is pretty much like something that I'm good at. You know, the Lisa and the Nidalee, the Elise. There might be new ones like Rengar coming out really strong right now in solo queue.
Maybe Fiddle is going to be good again, because like he got buffed. Hopefully not. I hate Fiddle.
Every jungler will go Rag or Boost right now, and it's a damage smite instead of the vision one. That should open up more possibilities for junglers to be more aggressive, since they're not being tracked everywhere they go.
Based on what I've seen, making the game more volatile doesn't usually make it more action-packed, because people take less risks when they have less information. If everything's dark and you go aggressive at the wrong time, you're gonna die. I hope it's more action-packed, because that's more fun to play, more fun to watch, but I guess we'll see.
Some thoughts from the pro players. You heard some champion names being thrown out there, things like Fiddlesticks, Rengar. Don't know if I'm sold on those.
Yeah, Rengar in solo queue, he's seeing a lot of play.
Yes.
Very low win rate right now, and Fiddlesticks, I'm a little more scared.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing where every champion in the jungle's win rate went up because Rengar started getting played so often but always lost.
Yeah.
That was a pretty strange interaction on day one of the patch.
Right, but earlier in this week, Jat, on This or That, you were saying that the removal of Tracker's Knife would be an impactful change in competitive. I just think it's showing itself in a different way.
Yeah, I think so. So a lot of the time, you're thinking, hey, maybe this is going to make people way more aggressive early. We haven't seen that in the numbers yet. The combined kills per minute has stayed pretty much the same in the first 15 or 20 minutes of the game. I think it's still more interesting for junglers because they're having to guess more and track more and not have as many map hacks and communicate, so the better teams can differentiate themselves. But we haven't seen it immediately increase to more kills.
And it's actually had a bigger knock-on effect later on in the game, I would argue, because everyone's saying, oh, there's no trackers in the first 10 minutes of the game now, but it's also, there's no trackers after 20 minutes into the game, where Baron control becomes a huge factor, and so game length has been trending down over time as people just get more comfortable as teams and learn how to close games out, but 8.4 continues that trend where sometimes a new patch shakes things up, and I think it's really cool because when people used to put down a ton of trackers, knives, wards in the river, it was really hard to sweep all of them out. You still have 2 sweepers, you still have a ton of pink wards, but now there's just less wards.
Right, vision clearing is still just as accessible. Yes. Vision placement is tougher to get.
Right, and that's when everything gets way more coordinated. Like, we need to control Baron area, and in the early portion of the game, losing those wards is impactful and more random fights might break out, but in the later portion of the game, it's actually super impactful because it's harder to contest things.
And Jat, we kind of heard it from Impact yesterday in that interview, the vision changes and what that's kind of done to the top lane landscape in terms of meta, if you wouldn't mind elaborating on that a bit.
Yeah, aside from the top lane nerf to Gangplank, who was great against most tanks as an infinite scaler, the fact that you are a tank allows you to be a moving vision ward yourself, right? Because a Camille can't face check a brush, a Sion can, a Shen can. So that is actually pretty valuable when trying to contest those late game objectives, that the other team just doesn't put down a control ward, sit in a brush, and say, you're screwed. Like, you can walk in there with the tank and disrupt it.
Of course, Tracker's Knife, just one small aspect of the patch. We had the mid lane item changes as well as Banner of Command, Baron buff. We talked about it yesterday. I gave you guys the over-under 16.5 because the other regions had shown 16 on their first day of play. And guess what? We came in well under 16. 10. Only 10.
We got it. Let's go. We finally get things right.
We got to celebrate our few victories here on the analyst desk. So there it is. 10 banner commands in yesterday's
close.
Is there a reason? Can you justify why it was so significantly less for us than it was in other regions?
I think it was a little bit of mania, like we were saying, but one thing that happened is people started holding their dematerializers properly, and it creates this kind of interesting game of chicken where one team can bring those dematerializers, and then the top laner who's starting to build banner can sit on the Aegis and say, oh, you still have 3 stacks and we're post 15 minutes and we're winning the game. That means you're probably going to dematerialize these things. I'm not going to over-prioritize banner anymore. I can build other items first that are better in other situations, like a locket for team fighting instead of the banner. So I think people have calmed down a fair amount once the dematerializers started being held.
I totally agree, and it makes the rest of the changes more about vision control, more about mage scaling, more about takes in the top lane, because it's not as simple as just picking early game, getting Baron, bannering it, and winning, because that banner just gets zapped.
All right, next, unfortunately, it's time for Jat Stats, and we are low on time, so we're going to have to go rapid fire. We're probably going to do worse than we normally do.
It's time for Jat Stats. I think you guys can get some of them this week. So the first question is, it's loaded with hints.
Okay.
So this jungler has the highest first blood participation percentage. So this guy is involved in a killer assist for first blood in 60+% of his games, but also has the lowest kills plus assists at 15 for junglers. So who is this jungler?
Reignover's
Best
Lyra,
at first
Reignover,
blood,
Lyra.
worst
Lyra,
kills and
Lyra's pretty
assists.
active
This
in
is
the
the
early game.
player, right?
This is
Not-
the player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
first
maybe
blood
Reignover just
participation-
because of how rare they even get first blood.
Well, so I know the jungler with the highest first blood participation, I thought was Onda, and he doesn't get that many kills and assists. So I think this is Onda. Say Onda
Yeah,
with me.
Onda, I'm doing it with him. He said he convinced me.
You were so close. It was Reignover.
Damn it, Mark!
The funniest
No!
thing is there's two
I
games
should not have listened.
where he hasn't even gotten first blood before 15 minutes.
Right, you
So
know
he
why I
still
want?
gets
I
it.
was. It's because of the Stixxay stats
Stixxay
that
got
I
his
thought that
first
this was going to
kill
be.
plus
yeah,
assist at 15
yeah.
That's
minutes.
why I thought it was Reignover because of the Stixxay stats.
Yeah.
Damn!
Stixxay still lasts
You
at
asked for
Fire.
more collaboration.
Get
I'm
off
trying to
my
help you.
desk.
You can't have it both ways.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Next
Yeah,
next
Stixxay
jet
still
bet.
lasts in league kills per assist for 15 minutes. This one, Mark, you cast Academy every week.
Okay,
The
God.
picks are very similar in Academy as they are in LCS. In fact, they have the same most banned champion. They both banned Zoe 51 times. Like, it's incredibly similar. And they have the same most picked champion in 4 of the 5 roles.
Same most picked.
But what's the role where they have a different most picked champion between NALCS and
ADC.
NA Academy?
ADC?
I'm not gonna help you much, man.
You're-
I don't know.
Get- Multiple choices, 1 of 5 roles.
Well, it's just the role.
Yeah, which role?
The most picked champion.
Is it a,
share
is
the
it a
most picked
different?
champion?
No, which role is different? Because 4 to 5.
Right. Yeah. ADC.
Top lane.
It's mid. I'm not even going to ask you the bonus question.
Just
Azir-
average our answers and you make it to
Azir
the
and
mid lane. I feel
Rai
like we
yeah,
got that
are
one right.
different.
How'd you not
Everything else
notice
is
the
the
difference
same.
between Ryze and Azir? They're the only 2 most popular champions. in
Should have
mid
noticed the
lane.
difference, Mark.
Yeah, how did I not
Yeah.
notice that difference?
All right, DPM question. I know you love these.
Yeah,
Oh,
give me.
boy.
Multiple choice. The highest single game damage per minute. It's a multiple choice question. These are your 5 options. There's a Sven Ezreal game that we have, a Cody Sun Tristana game,
All
an
80K.
Arrow Ezreal game, a Stixxay Kog'Maw game, and a Deftly Xayah game, which was yesterday.
Not Arrow.
Yeah, I'm down. No,
Not deftly.
Sure, why
Too
not?
short of a game. Right?
I mean,
Well, actually,
Cody
it was,
Sun
it was a
Trist
pretty
game,
long
Sven and Arrow
game.
played
yeah,
Ezreal.
but I feel like the high DPM games are going to come from the guys earlier in the split when we had
Yeah,
longer
and
games,
Ezreal
right?
and Poke champions
So
have
we know
these.
that Cody was leading DPM charts
Still
earlier,
is.
but then Sven on an Ezreal could get a lot of poke in.
Fun facts, Sven and Arrow both lost their Ezreal games in which they ranked in the top 5 for highest DPM.
I'll do Cody. You do.
I'll do Sven.
Yeah, I'll do Cody.
Mark gets it with Cody Sun, Tristana against CLG.
I got bait.
James, why did you get any of these,
103
man?
damage per minute as Trist. Mark has gotten one
yeah.
like
I got-
5 weeks in a row now.
Yeah, that's why
I've
we
gotten
stopped
on the board,
That's why we
alright?
stopped
Yeah. On
keeping
the board.
score. Notice that there's no tallies at the bottom of the score.
Yeah,
These are
chart.
hard.
Time to move on to some predictions where we will pit our analysts against the collective brain power of the audience today.
Definitely Team Liquid. This patch meta is definitely impacts meta, and they have the better bot lane.
Definitely Fox. See? Fit Honey.
I like the players on TSM, but I definitely think that 100 Thieves kind of has this one today. It's just a feeling that I have. I think that they're gonna do it today.
Ooh, that's a tough one too. I'm gonna go with C9 on this one. I think Jensen has the probably in mid lane. I'm gonna go with Jensen on this one.
Can we leave that one to the coin? Let's take FlyQuest on that one.
I love the outfit there.
Yeah. At first, I thought
Solid
they were just going to
outfits.
get everyone in team jerseys to pick their own team.
pick their
and they
own
switched
team,
it up
right?
halfway through.
Alrighty, so we got a couple different. You guys, once again, all 5 games predicted the same way.
So the closest game I feel like is the TSM 100 Thieves game.
Right.
We got 2 teams coming in at 7 and 6. They're both 3 and 1 in the second half of the split.
Mm-hmm.
But TSM,
So why does TSM beat 100 Thieves?
they're that infuriating team where they always look pretty good, and the history is always in the back of your mind of them always picking it up towards the end of the split, and
Right.
they looked really good yesterday.
Yeah, like we said, they're 3-1 second half of the split, continuing to do well. That's the only playoff matchup. If you're looking at those, the only 2 teams that are currently ranked in playoffs meaning. So it's the closest game on paper. But unfortunately, 100 Thieves did not look very convincing at all in their loss yesterday. TSM has been looking good, so it's hard to go against them.
Well, I'm rooting for the audience on this one. With 2 minutes left to go until Champ Select, let's get some win conditions up on the board here for Game 1. Mark, you've got CLG. Jet, you've got Team Liquid.
I know CLG won yesterday, but I don't recommend going too similar to that game plan because it was.
Are you sure?
It was coming back from a 10K
I like
goal
that
deficit.
One. It's a great way to lull them into a false sense of security.
Yeah, I want to see them draft more for laning phase. All year long, they've been picking these weird like team play stuff. Like I got a TF and you got a Fiora, and we're gonna snowball, and then we just get crushed. Like I want to see them stop doing so much of that and just pick some good lane matchups. Try and play the game like that. We see that you can potentially snowball the game a little bit better. And Stixxay is starting to play good now as well. So just make sure you guys are all working as a team. Doublelift is very important. So get Stixxay ahead of Doublelift. Pick some winning matchups. Don't give the Shen up maybe. And I think that's one of their paths to victory.
Laning and bot
You're
lane.
sure you don't want them to fall 10,000 gold behind.
Yeah, I'm positive I don't want.
All right, does that change now that you know that they aren't going to fall back?
Ah,
okay.
shoot.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's similar. I actually am in a lot of agreement with Mark here when I go to TL's win condition. I do think they should also draft for laning only because of how well they did that yesterday with the Zyrakan, with the Shen, who they gave gank priority to against the Sion. But also I think it's winning top lane is very important for this team. More so because of what happens when they don't win top lane. Whenever Impact loses, this team I think is winless. So when he took over the game yesterday, both these teams are going to be in an early games arm race, but specifically they should put some attention top.
Strong laning matchups for both teams, but focus on opposite sides of the map. That's going to do it for us here. Time to head out to the Battle Arena to get into the games.
Thank you, Dash. My name is Julian Pastry Time Card. Joining me is Isaac Azayot Cummings Bentley. We're gearing up for CLG versus Team Liquid. 8.4 has been pretty kind to us so far, so excited to see another round from these teams this weekend.
Yeah, we've been having a little bit faster games. Actually, every patch so far in the spring split has increased the speed of the game, not the game time itself. So it definitely has been pretty interesting, and I'm excited to see some more from these two teams. Definitely a really strong showing yesterday from TL. They had pretty much smashed their game. CLG did win, but it was not an expected win, and it was not a way that you expect them to win when they're down over 10K against C9 and kind of clawed their way back into that one and didn't end up.
Yeah, more of a, yes, they technically killed the Nexus first on that one. There's CLG, banned Galio and Kha'Zix on blue side here as we start off the draft. Skarner and Sedwani, two junglers banned by Team Liquid.
Yeah, Skarner, super high ban rate. It doesn't seem to really be getting through at all. Is even better on 8.4 and was already very good on 8.3. A lot of people think that the ability to actually take Chilling Smite has just made this champion ridiculously strong. Interesting to see the Rakan ban here when CLG has been playing a fair bit of Xayah Rakan actually in that bot lane, so a bit of a respect ban there over to Biofrost, who is considered by many to be the best Rakan player in the league. So definitely kind of worth his assault there, but also worth noting that both Cassio and Ryze are available. Sometimes these teams are kind of willing to leave one up and try to hope that the other team will take the Ryze. Then you can kind of grab the Cassio as an answer. But mostly we have been seeing before the Ryze is picked, the Cassio is banned out. So we could see TL do something like look for that third pick Ryze in first round, then ban the Cassio to do it kind of that way. And that's one of the advantages that you have right now as red side, as this is kind of just how it's been shaking out in picks and bans.
Interesting, though, that a lot of AD focus for these first few. Caitlyn was the last banned by CLG. Rakan, as you mentioned, joined on the other side. And then Varus first pick on blue for Counter Logic Gaming. And Tristana plus Gragas. We'll see some play. Xmithie often sticks to his tanks. I guess that's kind of a field thing for him. And with three junglers banned away, not too surprising to see him fall back to something that we've seen a little but not too much of this split.
Yeah, very little on 8.4. Globally, in 54 games, we've seen one Gragas, and it lost. Definitely is a serviceable tank and does still have a lot of the early playmaking and power that you've kind of come to know from Gragas, but is certainly not considered a power pick on this patch. And with things like Zac available, and that is a little bit surprising to see it prioritized here. I think that Olaf is a pretty nice answer. It's something that Reignover has been fairly comfortable in and has popped up a little bit in this patch here as well. It's also just pretty good answer to Gragas because of the magic immunity with the ultimate here from Olaf. You can kind of run people down, and I actually think it's fairly good into Azir as well in the early stages of the game. That's another champion that you can just kind of get access to and look to run down.
Yep, obviously a comfort pick for him as well. Orianna was the mid laner blind choice for huhi. So Azir actually just kind of left open. Pobelter looks like he had a pretty concerned look in his face for a second, but they do decide as they run the clock down to take it and we'll move into phase 2 of bans.
Yeah, very interesting. Rise going completely through picks and bans here, so maybe not as high priority as a lot of pros and analysts had been kind of expecting coming into this patch. You know, a lot of people were talking about Rise as something that was going to be, you know, a guaranteed 100% pick or a ban type champion. Has fallen through bans a number of times and now going completely unpicked here. But obviously a lot of late game scaling here. A 4TL already, you have Azir, you have Tristana. This to me is kind of setting up very heavily for what could just be a tank top plus another tank support. You draft a very heavy front line, and then you have a really kind of solid core of DPS here with the Azir and the Tristana. And as far as the other side, I do think that CLG has more of an opportunity to go for a little bit more of a lane dominant style, especially when you have the Varus, who I think is a very powerful laner. And certainly Biofrost is someone who is willing to play, you know, some different picks. And with all these kind of tank supports being taken off the table, there's more of a chance of seeing, you know, range support. Although there is still Tahm Kench available, there is still Braum available. We may see that pinch somewhat here, or CLG could just leave both open and look for a trade.
We did hear that Olleh maybe had something prepared, so interesting to see tank supports banned on the Liquid side. 2 top laners though for CLG. Impact's going to lose his Shen, makes sense given his performance yesterday, and then Cho'Gath also going to come off. Looks like no though, Braum is going to be the pick. Like you said, Tahm Kench still up. We'll see if Biofrost wants that, or if he does want to change up and maybe switch off to a playmaker.
Yeah, and I think Tahm Kench can work. You know, it does kind of give some safety to the Varus, who doesn't have a move block against Gragas and these sorts of things. But I actually think that there is a lot of room for a ranged support in this sort of a matchup here against a Braum and a Tristana to try to look for something a little bit more lane dominant. You can go for top lane first, though, and yeah, it is going to be the Bard. So I actually like this quite a bit. This is going to be more of a lane-dominant 2v2. There is a lot of playmaking and roaming, a potential that can come out here from the Bard. The potential for actually very heavy engages to be set up by the Bard, followed up by the Maokai, as well as, you know, the Shockwave from the Orianna and the Olaf flying in, the Varus CC to follow that up. Seems like a pretty strong playmaking and teamfight combo. I actually really like the Trundle, though, as the last pick here for TL. This is something that I've been talking about, you know, in this patch in general. I think that not only is Trundle a really good matchup into pretty much every tank in the game, it works very well in the meta where people are trying to rush this banner. If you want to rush a banner against you know, blindly in the top lane, well, Trundle can actually deal with that very well because he is a physical damage top laner, and he's not someone like a Jace or even like an AD Cannon or something who can, yes, match up well, but then struggles sometimes to join the team fights early on. Trundle still can have team fight effectiveness, can win the 1v1 in the lane, can split push, and I think just is such a strong pick in this meta. So definitely a really solid front line and kind of team fighting core here for TL. They have the ability to go 5v5. They have the ability to split it out and go 1-4. But likewise for CLG, a lot of playmaking, very strong bottom lane to play around, and very heavy engaged and combo-based CC and team fight.
It almost feels like CLG are a little less flexible, but have kind of indexed more into team fighting strength, whereas TL gave themselves kind of an out in the side lane with Impact and his Trundle. So definitely interesting to see how it all shakes out, but had a lot of changes in 8.4. These kind of team fighting comps, always fun to watch, and given the speed of the games as well, things can get out of hand real quickly, depending on the early games. So both teams on the lookout for a second win. Only one team between these two will sweep the weekend. We'll have to find out who in the second.
Some pretty interesting choices here, honestly, from both sides as far as actually, you know, the runes do go. So Spellbook Maokai. I've got to say I'm very surprised to see Spellbook Maokai as the answer. You do see this on things like the Orin, who can kind of start Ignite and have a lot of early lane pressure. This is just straight up a TP flash start. I actually think that is just a straight up incorrect decision. I think that anytime you were going to start Spellbook, you should start a combat summoner. Because if you do not need to use it in lane, when you go back, you will have your first summoner shard available and can swap that to a TP. So I actually think there's never really a situation where you should be starting Teleport and being summoner Spellbook, because you know, if you have the Ignite available and that can get you a kill, great, use it. If you don't need it, you go back to lane and you TP back anyway. But regardless, this is going to give him, you know, more playmaking because he's going to have the lower cooldown on his TP, on his flash, going to be clearly looking for engages, less about kind of brawling and fighting against Impact. But that is going to mean Impact is going to have even more of an advantage in the 1v1 where he's, you know, running grass for this combat summoner. And Reignover also going to be going Predator here. So that is pretty interesting. This is a Ghost Predator Olaf. The the speed at which he's going to be coming in on some of these early ganks is going to be pretty frightening, and that in combination with the fact that he can go Chilling Smite on 8.4 is really going to give him some early chase down power that wouldn't have kind of otherwise been there on the previous.
Yeah, I think depending on style, both smites potentially an option here for Reignover, but certainly exciting. Not the same impact potentially as a pre-6 Skarner, as an example, but still could be quite fearsome if he rushes into the lanes. Reignover actually solo starting on this blue buff, though. Looks like he's going to pull all the way to that Gromp, get the aggro going. We've seen a lot of this little leash from Zac players, and Reignover just going to take the damage, proc that passive, smite the Gromp for a bit of extra health, and this is some solo power clearing from Reignover's Olaf.
Yeah, and on Olaf, you actually clear faster when you are lower HP, so he is intentionally trying to get low. You'll see he's actually sitting on both of his health potions, not actually going to be using those until he's looking to fight, right? So if you're not worried about your opponent engaging or kind of invading on you, which you shouldn't really be going up against this Gragas, he's going to sit on very low HP, he's going to full clear, and then he's going to start popping pots as he thinks he might run into Xmithie, or as he is considering to actually look for it and go for one of these ganks.
Yeah, Xmithie, same side start, but Reignover is flying through the jungle at this point. We'll check in with the mid lane though. Seen a lot of these two champs, although not the tier champions we may have expected. Both Huhi and Pobelter have had, I would say, some solid but maybe up and down seasons so far. Huhi not nearly the form he showed last year, and Pobelter, I think, started off really strong, but has maybe dipped a little as Liquid have waxed and waned throughout the back half of this split. Still Azir, extremely potent champion. Pobelter looking just fine right now.
Yeah, definitely the case. Some more interesting rune stuff to kind of talk about. I always find these little optimizations and choices by the players to be pretty fun. Interesting to see. Impact is actually going, Alacrity secondary, which is pretty normal. You want to get some attack speed on the Trundle, but he's actually going Legend Tenacity, so that is the stacking tenacity. Knowing that there is so much CC on this team, I think it makes quite a bit of sense when you're laning up against a Maokai. You do always have to be worried about the amount of crowd control that's coming out there and kind of gank assistance there. And he's also going Overheal. So that to me immediately tells me, two things. A, he is kind of prioritizing pretty heavily in this 1v1, but B, that he's going to be going Ravenous Hydra, which I'm expecting you build that lifesteal, then you're going to be sitting on this Overheal shield. That in combination with your passive is going to kind of give you a bit of an HP buffer in this build that is otherwise pretty light on health and does make you somewhat squishy.
Yep, looks like Portal to the bot side though. Tagged by Olleh onto Reignover, but Reignover still looking for something. Good block there by Olleh, forcing jump there from Doublelift, but damage still raining in, forcing the flash out. Ignite was burned!
Oh!
That Q not enough though, bone plating kicks in for Olleh.
Yeah, it looked like Olleh maybe actually used his W a little bit too early and didn't kind of get the distance he wanted on that. Pops to stand behind me, but the rocket jump had not really been completed yet, so he didn't get a lot of distance traveled. Either way, he does keep Doublelift safe, and critically, Doublelift saved both his summoners. So yes, it is both summoners down for Olleh, but they trade that for the Ignite, as well as the Ghost from Reignover, and they survive. So all things in all, pretty well handled there by the TL bot lane.
Yep, Olleh able to get back safely. He'll rejoin the lane with just an extra Ruby Crystal. Good little piece of early pressure from Reignover, who does now go back by a Hunter's Potion, a Crystal, and his boots, most importantly, to turn on the Predator active.
Yeah, exactly. And that is going to be kind of his second ghost, right? So normally you'd be saying, okay, now Olaf's ghost down. There's not as much of a threat of actually an early gank going on, but you get right back out on the map. You can pop the Predator immediately, and you can look to kind of pressure again. That being said, I find it weird that he's hanging around top lane right now when Darshan is pretty low on health and mana. And he's not sitting on an Ignite, the combat summoner that you would expect people to be on with this spellbook. So I don't really think there's anything he can get done up there, and he is just going to head back into his jungle and continue farming. And this should be a very heavily impact-favored lane. This is an incredibly easy matchup for the Trundle, and it's made way easier by the fact that this is not even a Grasp or an Aftershock, right? There's very little chance that Darshan will ever have to fight against the Trundle. Yeah. Almost at no point in the game.
And we talked a little bit about this actually before we came on air, and that Impact has always been known. His reputation as a tank player is very well known within the LCS. But I think the thing you pointed out is Impact's highest moment was on Gnar when he was bullying more of these tank matchups, and Trundle certainly fits more of that bully bruiser role that Impact has shown time and time again. He is capable of really hard winning these lanes and giving his team an opening from top lane.
Yeah, he definitely is. And it'll be interesting to me to see kind of how he decides to play it as, that's actually pretty big binding there. A lot of damage comes out with that Electrocute because the Meeps hit, your auto attack, and the Q, that proxy Electrocute from Bard, and Doublelift unable to sidestep that. Does take a lot of damage, but yeah, regardless, to me, I think it's almost guaranteed with a decently played lane that Impact will get a lane advantage. It's how does he convert that, right? How do you actually turn that into A, turret takes and gold advantage and map pressure? Or B, can he actually convert that into lane leads elsewhere on the map by utilizing TP and these sorts of things? Because, you know, Trundle is not the highest impact teleport player. This is not, you know, a Maokai or a Shen or whatever moving around the map and dominating. It's more about crushing your lane and kind of playing a bit more greedy in that way, keeping Darshan locked into this lane, because otherwise you just lose turrets. And if you can do that, you will extend the advantage and be looking pretty good in the 1v1. Plus, there's opportunity to attack this guy, because with Trundle at level 6, no flash on Maokai, this is a gankable lane. This is a diveable lane. So we'll see if they're going to look to do that, as Xmithie is topside.
Yep, on dives though, bot lane is being threatened. It's just Olleh hanging out right now as Doublelift is coming back from base.
He's probably going to be a goner. I mean, this is a 3v1. We'll see if they decide to go for it. They are trying to push it in, and it's actually a lot of time being bought. I mean, that ghost is going to expire before they even move. So wasted ghost there by Reignover, and they're actually waiting now for a Doublelift. That's the plan, it looks like.
A little too patient, perhaps. I mean, there is a portal opportunity as well. They're actually now going to finally reveal themselves, but already took the turret damage. Oh, pop there. They're just going to zerg it down into Olleh. Might be enough damage. It is so. Varus able to grab first blood as Biofrost barely survives.
Wow, I'm actually really surprised that worked. I mean, Doublelift unable to get a shot onto Biofrost there. One auto would have got him the kill onto Biofrost, but he was actually targeting Reignover, who wasn't tanking the turret. I'm not sure if Doublelift didn't realize that the turret was actually still on Biofrost, or didn't feel that he could get over to him, but definitely seems like that was a bit mishandled there by TL. Either way, it is Liquid trying to pressure on the top side to kind of account for this, and the first blood does give a gold advantage to CLG, but you can see the farm is actually becoming pretty big lead on the top side already, and as a result, it's not that big of a gold differential.
Yeah, it's actually the same story in mid as well. Pobelter pretty much cleared 20 CS ahead of huhi as TL do find their strength in the top side of the map. Reignover popped over the wall with the blast cone, going to take down that control ward, but after that success in bot side, despite the fact that it may have taken a little longer than we liked, as we'll actually check it out again.
Yeah, this is definitely interesting. I mean, the ghost was already blown. They come in here, and yeah, I think Doublelift just honestly played that way too slow. I think Doublelift was expecting them to be going for him. He actually just wasn't even autoing at the start of that play, and then simply did not get a single auto attack off on Biofrost, only got a shot or two there off on a Stixxay, and I think Doublelift just misunderstood what was happening there. I think he expected them to be trying to turn that around and go straight on him, and as a result, played it super defensively, but they were just looking for the first blood kill onto Olleh, who was flashless.
And as it turns out, Stixxay, the man who has been performing well for CLG, will be gifted with first blood as he puts together those first components for the Rage Blade. So off to a good start there, but we'll certainly have to keep track as the game goes on.
I mean, it's definitely a hard lane for TL, and the real worry is that it's not just first blood, it's first blood and plus 20 CS, right? And you can give up kills here or there and stay somewhat relevant if you're even on farm, but when you're behind on farm and behind on kills, it can start getting pretty scary. And Varus is one of those champions that's so ridiculously good on one item, whereas Tristana kind of needs more time to build up multiple items, I feel. And when the Rage Blade is completed, especially if that is completed before, you know, an IE or anything really comes in for Doublelift, he is going to be at such a disadvantage as far as current power, and will kind of be forced into this more defensive playstyle unless Xmithie can get there and turn it around, or Impact can get there and turn it around. But it looks like another four-man play coming by here.
Oh, what a wonderful binding from Biofrost. Match 2 on the stun. huhi down here as well. Olleh's just going to die, and Darshan didn't even need to be there, but shows up for the party anyway.
I mean, 5 bot, as you said, not even needed. Biofrost with the beautiful setup. The Bartle into the flash binding, gets both. They get the double kill on the bot lane, first turret gold, and they're gonna take the Infernal Dragon. That is such a huge win for CLG, and exactly what they needed to do when they're losing both of their solo lanes.
And all of a sudden, again, that gold lead's starting to just get stronger and stronger. Infernal goes down. CLG at 10.5 minutes break open the bot half of the map.
I mean, let's watch this one more time. Just the Bardal connects beautifully on both. Biofrost wants to get them both together, is able to nail them, and there's just really no chance off of that initiation. The only way that TL would have been able to get out would have been flashing the Bardal initially, but even then, they weren't expecting, I think, so many men to be in place at the right time. And on the top side, you will see this turret going down. There's just really nothing Maokai can do. And this far up, there's a potential that Maokai could get run down, but Darshan is going to back off. So really this game is going to turn into one of those situations where Impact needs to buy time for Doublelift to catch up now. I mean, Doublelift is over 1,000 gold behind this early in the game to Stixxay. Stixxay is on his Rage Blade versus a BF and Berserker Greaves. So Stixxay is hilariously stronger than Doublelift right now, and Impact needs to be pressuring the map, drawing people up there, so Doublelift has time to farm up, scale up, and that's really going to be on the solo lanes to now kind of make up that deficit for Doublelift and Olleh, because they were in a tough matchup. They got focused. They need to farm up. They need to catch up, and that's going to take a while.
And is the inverse true on the CLG side, right? With the lead that CLG's bot lane built, can they give Darshan room? We've seen this from a lot of teams. Kind of be effective. We're okay, top lane's down. Open up some more space to try and get things done. Darshan, I mean, very far behind certainly, but farming up. Impact does feel the pressure, given that the bot lane is missing for now. And CLG gonna have to play this advantage pretty well. The gold lead did get back to even after Impact traded those turrets, but Infernal Drake's gonna add some gold we can't see just yet. And Stixxay and Bio out of there, taking the portal back to the lane.
Yeah, so we'll see what CLG decides to do with their bot lane. I'm kind of expecting the Bard and Varus to be trying to lane against the Trundle. Because, yes, Trundle can smash Maokai 1v1, but Trundle is not going to have a fun time against a Bard and a fully completed Rage Blade on this Varus. That will kind of erase some of the advantage that he has if he cannot continue to exploit Darshan in this 1v1. So I am expecting a lane swap, but so far they have not done that. And one of the things that is so good about Tristana is her wave clear. So even from behind, Tristana with the explosive shot and the explosive shot passive can knock down these minions very, very quickly. But Bard here on the side, they are looking for a way in, but because of the fact that they didn't really know where Xmithie is and these sorts of things, they have to be careful about going straight into a blind 2v2 or what they assume is a 2v2.
Yeah, well, we take a quick look at some of the trades in topside. Darshan just trying to weather what could be a little too much pressure from Impact. Xmithie also towards that top lane. CLG trying to run defenses in, both mid and jungle on the way.
Reignover's coming up here. There's going to be 4 men up top from CLG very quickly.
Splitting for a while. Impact should be the target, I think, but Reignover's just trying to play zone. The shockwave flashed by Impact. He already burnt the ult. He's got a bit of extra help, but now Reignover is going to come to try and chase him down. Impact just stands and fights, going to try and kill Darshan. Xmithie looks for the ult, but Darshan flashes. Impact does go down to Reignover.
Yeah, there's just no way to get out there. They're so far up on the map versus a Predator Olaf, and going to get run down there. So a nice kill over onto Impact. 4 men strong from CLG on the top side, and that's kind of them now moving their advantage around the map, right? Bard has roaming priority. He already has his Mobies. Olleh does not. They are in the losing lane, so Bard goes top. You move Huhi over, and you try to get that kill onto Impact and kind of slow him down somewhat. And they're successful in that, but you can see that even in that essentially 3v1 type situation, or 3v1 and a half, or if you want to call it, since Xmithie threw in his ult, he almost killed Darshan still, and that is definitely frightening. And this is a game where I personally think that Impact should be building, more purely for split push. Like, I would like to see him go and Iceborne and Gauntlet and these sorts of things, build up the CDR, have the Sheen to actually knock down turrets even more quickly. And the CDR is really effective for having ultimates and pillars and your ability just more frequently to actually duel out against Darshan on this Maokai. But we'll see if he decides to just go purely for straight tank after the Ravenous Hydra, because that is also very, very common in pro. I just think you don't really want to transition it to a team fight stage just yet when your Tristana is this far behind. And if you get there later on, you have so much team fight power in the Azir and the Tristana that I don't think you necessarily even need to go straight for a tank. You can just kind of continue pressuring side lanes and get a lot of your tankiness from just ulting the Maokai.
Well, we've seen kind of the swap happen here as Biofrost maybe looking to chase down Impact. Again, just get some damage down. Ulti burnt, will catch him. Reignover going to run straight in. Here's Huhi also ready. No flash after the play on the Impact earlier. He is going to go down. Reignover collects it for another time. But bot side Darshan getting 1v3 Dover. He already burnt his ulti. Dodges the Glacial Fissure. Ties up Xmithie under the turret, who tanks the aggro. Minions are gone. Darshan with the defense.
That was actually really nicely done there from Darshan. So Impact again getting picked on here on the top side. 3 members catching him out. They're denying him farm. They're not allowing him to actually go to these minion waves. And on the bot side, TL fails to execute the same sort of play onto CLG's bot laner. So CLG moves top, gets a turret, denies the farm, kills Impact, and the lead that Impact had is starting to really vanish here.
Well, towers are going to be traded as Doublelift and Olleh continue to push through. CLG, though, still pressuring onto this tier 2 here. It's just Impact to defend. can't do anything.
Yeah, you walk up to that, you're dead as a Trundle. So that is going to be another turret going the way of CLG. And they're going to give the solo gold to Stixxay. I always think a very intelligent choice. It's more impactful to have a single item breakpoint on one person than just try to kind of spread out that gold usually. And Teal is doing a good job trading back on turrets, though. They do pick up 2 of their own, one in mid lane, one in bot. So definitely buying some time here for Doublelift.
Slow there from Reignover, finds one. Pobelter low on health now. Next one, root lands in onto Xmithie, who's going to get tied up. He's got his flash, but not going to use it. Just goes down to Biofrost.
Yeah, there's no getting out of plays like that. And I think that it is smart for Xmithie to actually hold on to his flash in that situation, because you're that far away, your team cannot turn and fight, so blowing the flash just means you live till one more axe hits you and then you die. So he's going to hold on to the summoner, but it is another dragon going the way of CLG. Definitely still pretty nicely in the advantage here, and this is the play again on top side. Impact just trying to find where he can get some farm, but Biofrost catches him out, and Biofrost has been on fire this game, 100% KP, finding some fantastic ultimates and really showing the power of some of these range support matchups. And then on the bot side, Darshan using the minion dematerializer, using his ultimate to clear out the wave, dodges the Braum ultimate there with his W, and that just meant there's not enough damage, there's not enough CC to actually take him down.
All right, we finally have time, I think, to talk about mid lane, because Pobelter is smashing huhi in that 1v1. I think it's the reason TL were able to get that mid outer turret. 30 to 40 CS lead here for Pobelter, who will scale up nicely into the late game.
Yeah, I mean, Pobelter has been doing fantastic. As you said, there's been so much action everywhere else, it's been hard to actually talk about. But that being said, despite the CS advantage, huhi has been able to move around the map and actually kind of help try to bandage up some of these holes that were appearing in top lane and some of the side lane. So that is part of where it has come from, but it has also come from the fact that Pobelter straight up just outlaned his opponent. But the fact that huhi has a kill, has 3 assists, helped get Darshan back in there, means that A, the gold difference is not going to be as big because of that kill and assist gold, and B, it's kind of worth that sacrifice of some CS to make sure that your Maokai is going to be relevant in the team fight.
Yep, he has about 400 differential in the matchup, so certainly doing fine just there thanks to his team. He also has a Seraphs, because huhi apparently builds tier on every champion. Did it yesterday on Olleh. It is a good item, not the tier champion we might have expected, but Orianna, I think, has the flexibility to kind of use any of those new mid-lane items, and tier obviously being so good, building into that Seraphs wins. He's happy with the first item point that he's hit.
Yeah, definitely the case. And it does give you a lot of survivability. It's kind of almost a shocking amount of survivability. I was talking about this yesterday on the cast, and it's essentially a barrier, right? You have a second defensive summoner, and people are doing this in combination with heal, so you basically have a barrier plus a heal plus your command protect. And when you feel like you can be bursting down some of these champions in scenarios that you're used to being able to kill them off, on this patch, oftentimes you cannot do that. And CLG is trying to utilize their bot lane power, just take this Rift Herald, they're able to do so, and I think it's smart for TL to not overly contest this. I mean, this is 2 items done here for Stixxay, and Doublelift is pretty far away from his IE, and I don't think that you really want to fight in a scenario like that, because if you give up the kills there to CLG, that is going to blow open the game. That is going to be able to open up mid lane with that Rift Herald and so on and so forth. So TL definitely has to play it pretty calm, pretty collected, and try to give up the minimum here until their AD carry is really caught up.
Yeah, only 2,000 gold behind for Team Liquid. CLG still holding that lead. See what that Rift Herald does go. I think your instinct on mid lane outer is a solid one, as huhi going death cap second by the looks of things. Just saw a second ADC large rod pop into the inventory.
I actually really like this, and it's somewhat different, the math on it, on champions like Orianna versus others, because there is power in the shield of Orianna, right? So it's not just about pure DPS, it is not about magic penetration and these things. You're also buffing up how much you're increasing the move speed of your opponent, or your teammates rather, and also how much the shield is there on the command protect. And I think when you have this super fed AD carry, it makes even more sense to kind of ramp up and get that early death cap. Plus, in combination with what we talked about here, with the fully stacked Seraphs, he's going to have that shield, now even more powerful shield once he completes his death cap, and the heal. So there's a lot more kind of innate tankiness that you're not really able to sometimes account for.
Yeah, and on the other side, Pobelter, kind of knowing that the front lane is getting tankier, actually has a pretty quick Void Staff. It was his second item overall after the Nashes, so kind of future-proofing there a little. Still CLG continuing to play aggressive on the left side here now that Baron has spawned. And again, Darshan has got a lot of room on that bot side just to casually farm things out. He hasn't caught up just yet, but he is getting gold, which was not something that was happening too easily in that 1v1 earlier. So I think CLG overall have done a great job kind of neutralizing that advantage and continuing to play up and aggressive.
And here it is, 4-man mid. You drop the Rift Herald, you look to crack this outer, and the outer is gone. The question is just whether TL can fight afterwards. There's no actually defending that, so they are just going to let the turret go down and probably try to defend any potential tier 2 push. But to your point about Darshan versus Impact in that matchup, if the Maokai is not too behind, and if you can build some mana, if you get tanky enough, you don't actually have to fight the Trundle, you just have to fight the waves.
Yes.
If you can clear out the minion waves before Trundle can get to the turret, that is more the battle you're looking to win. You will never actually win the straight up fight against the Trundle, barring some sort of crazy happening. And what Trundle needs to do, and this is why I think that Iceborne and these sorts of things can become that much more powerful, is just actually outpush the Maokai, ignore the Maokai, and just hit the turret while the Maokai is trying to clear a wave. And it becomes this kind of funny dance where you're not actually trying to really kill the Maokai as much as you're just trying to ignore him and kill the turret. And that is why I love the Sheen builds for Trundle in the side lanes. But you're obviously sacrificing some teamfight power there too. So it's kind of a give and take, and it just depends based on what kind of play style they want to take and how risky they're willing to play in that side lane.
Well, CLG do extend their turret lead after taking Mig with the Rift Herald. 40 seconds until the Mountain Drake is up and available, and Stixxay is working on item number 3, plus the death cap from huhi is completed. So as his objectives respawn and CLG push through the mid game, a lot of room to try and fight it out, even though Doublelift has now finished his first 2 items, kind of at a point where all the items after this kind of make you exponentially stronger.
Yeah, they definitely do, and Stixxay is kind of going for the single target focus type build. When you do have the Blade of the Rune King complete, there's no armor really yet at all on TL, just the Ninja Tabbies being picked up now by Impact, but Gragas is building towards a Warmogs. There's a tiny bit of armor, yes, in the Aegis and whatnot that's being built up by Olleh, but generally speaking, he will shred through these guys with the Rage Blade as well as that Blade of the Rune King. And nice Shockwave catches a couple out.
1-2 Chaining Corruption as well. Olleh actually bound up by the ultimate from Bard. Ult there burnt by Olleh defensively. I think CLG maybe misstacked those, but still playing aggressive.
Biofrost wants him.
Looking for the angle, but no angle to be found.
But they can retreat just right back to the Mountain Dragon. So this is kind of a play that they would like to get more, but even if you don't, you can take the secondary victory there. And Pobelter, getting pretty low, needs to actually back off, and it will be CLG just 2-manning the Mountain Dragon. So 3 straight dragons for them. You add in the Infernal as well as this Mountain, and the threat to actually burn down a Baron becomes very, very real here, especially once Stixxay has that Blade of the Rune King. You can see Death Cap has been completed here for huhi, and they're going to try to heavily fight for vision around this area. Want to constantly deny some of the wards coming out here. And this is one of those things where Mark and Jat were talking about on the desk. The removal of the Tracker's Knife means it's sometimes more easy on this patch for the winning team to really control vision around these areas because there's not as many wards to drop out, so it's harder to kind of get surprised by some of the sneaky wards, so to speak, that could spot you going onto this Baron.
Yep, there is a ward just a little further left, but actually times out, so TL lose all of their vision around the Baron area. That control ward in the pit helping to obviously cancel that all out, and TL just have no idea what's going on. I mean, Pobelter does have his blue trinket, likely have to burn it soon, does do so, spot CLG on the Baron, but they just back off, and TL once again are left blind.
Yeah, and this is a pretty tough situation to be in. They do have a couple blue trinkets, thankfully for them. So, Pobelter still has his. Doublelift just used his. So they will have another way to check, and they can kind of continuously throw casks over the wall and try to do this. But it does put you in a bit of an awkward position. And, they're trying to manage their waves. They're trying to fight for vision. They're trying to do all these things while they know they are at a weaker point. But the longer they buy, the more time they get. If Doublelift can get the 3 items especially, I think that is really where Tristana starts to pick up a lot of power when you're on double Shiv, plus that IE. Or if he even wants to go straight into some armor pen, but I am expecting another Zeal build here, as only one building armor is Darshan. So either way, they are at least able to kind of hold on it and clear out this vision now, as they saw some of CLG basing, and it's going to be just this back and forth, right? CLG is trying to force fights, trying to force their advantage now because they are A, the team fight team, and B, in the advantage, and TL's just going to try to delay.
Yep, certainly not a massive lead though. Again, CLG still sitting 2,000 ahead. Have the Drake lead most certainly will be helped there in a combat with Infernal, plus Cloud and Mountain should help them as far as controlling this map goes. CLG going to continue pushing up and pressuring these waves forward, and TL Gonna be back to defensively warding things out. Oh, TP in. CLG gonna kind of show their hand, at least to us, as they're gonna go straight for that Baron. But huhi spotted by a nice ward. Xmithie's in the area. Steal is on the table here.
Yeah, it is, but Doublelift is not there. Impact is not there, so the only real chance is a steal, and we'll see if Xmithie's going to be able to get it.
Biofrost ulti finds him! Beautifully played by Bio! Reignover finds his mind. CLG take the Baron. Chain lands in. Shockwave is going to find one as Pobelter Zon uses the next half of the team fight. Still busting out of control. Reignover pops his stopwatches. Impact now going to be chased down. Stixxay flashes in. Takes down Pobelter. CLG just going to run straight through Team Liquid. Impact barely going to live.
He's going to get run down, I think, here by Biofrost.
He's got it to meet. Take him down. Biofrost claims the kill, and CLG clean up around the Baron.
And this could be a quick end here for CLG. I mean, once you're ahead as this teamfight team, as this diving team, they can now knock down at least one inhibitor on this push, and they can group up and look to try to close this one out pretty quickly. So we'll see how much they can get done with this Baron. They will at least get the one inhibitor. The minion wave is pushing for them top. Doublelift has gone bottom to try to shove out that wave to deny any potential triple inhib, but a CLG definitely getting a huge advantage off of that.
No banner, no need. They take down the mid inhib in one fell swoop, and this is a real gold lead now for CLG. 6,000 gold ahead at 27 minutes as Doublelift is just trying to buy some time and get some farm.
Yeah, and I don't think you can buy enough time at this point. I think that you're just so far behind in gold. With one inhibitor already cracked, it becomes very, very difficult to hold on in these situations. It's going to be, you know, up to TL to try to make some sort of plays to actually delay the game. And Impact has not been able to put enough pressure in these side lanes to actually really force anything to happen. So here it is once more, and Biofrost, who else but him, has been making play after play this whole game. Nails the Bard ultimate onto Xmithie, denying any chance of a steal. And then CLG more than happy to take the fight. You see Darshan flashing in onto Pobelter, and yes, it's looking like the front lines are trading HP pretty closely back and forth, but you look at the back line and they're all safe.
Surprise, Doublelift. Biofrost found his former marksman, but now again a dive is unstoppable. Reignover is just going to pop Ragnarok and go straight in. Xmithie so squishy under the turret, falls to Darshan. Chain of Corruption, a massive miss there from Stixxay, but it just doesn't matter. CLG so far ahead.
Yeah, and TL was missing both their soul laners. They don't have anyone there, and this is what can happen when you get ahead as this teamfight comp. You simply group up, you dive, and this is probably just the end of the game right here. CLG going to be looking to close this one out. Two members already down, super minions in the base. Baron Canner has arrived.
Yep, Darshan went back after that first reset and banned up that siege minion. Baron still on for a minute. This is so much time for CLG. Pobelter, a massive four-man push, gets them all back in. Stixxay does fall. Impact coming to take him down. Biofrost goes down as well as Double does manage to find himself a pick. But Darshan and Reignover, with the help of their Baron, are just going to keep going. huhi takes down Impact with the ball, and TL just trying to fight this banner minion. Double kill though. Doublelift face checks the ball and falls there to huhi. Olleh wrapped up in the roots by Darshan is also going to fall as huhi grabs the triple. And Xmithie versus the world and a massive siege minion. CLG are going to sweep the weekend and take down the Nexus. They finish off Team Liquid. And my oh my, 8.4 has been a refresh for this team.
A hell of a week there for CLG, and what a decisive finish to that game. Yes, they had a great win yesterday over C9, but it looked nothing like this. This was dominance. They played so well as a team. Biofrost, I think that was his best game of the year. That was honestly beautiful from Biofrost. I think the Bard pick made so much sense in the context of this game. He was able to find pick after pick, play after play, and when the bot lane got ahead, they were able to extend that advantage, move around the map, clear out the turrets, and just solid, decisive play here from CLG.
We talked about the strong parts of this team. It seemed like the bot lane were taking some steps up and forward for the team, and this time the rest of the team was there with them. Darshan, horrible start to that already difficult matchup. Certainly did not make it easier on himself with the unsealed spellbook, but still CLG knew we're going to take a loss in this lane. They figured out how to recover it despite both their solo laners being heavily taken down in the early parts of the laning phase. And I checked those CSTs at 15, and it just doesn't matter. This game ended in under 30 minutes.
Exactly. I mean, CLG played so well around their winning bottom lane. They got their advantages there. They knew top lane was going to be a losing lane, but they were able to kind of stop the bleeding there. A couple roams up top, kill off Impact a couple times, do a lane swap. All of a sudden, Darshan is farming up. He's very relevant. And yeah, he had Summoner Spellbook, but that's going to give him even more engage and more kind of playmaking potential once they got to these team fights. And he didn't need to be much of an individual force because Huhi was playing incredibly well. Stixxay was playing incredibly well. And honestly, that is probably the most impressive game from CLG this whole split.
I think I have to agree, and we talk a lot about the bot lane, but Reignover also does deserve some credit. We know he's known for his Olaf. Predator's kind of a cool thing that we didn't maybe think of for a champion like Olaf, and he had excellent presence to really shore up some of the early game issues for CLG.
Yeah, definitely so. Really exciting one. Got to be a disappointing loss, though, for TL. They just never really seemed to get going in that game.
Well, certainly not, but we're going to send it over to Olleh and CLG's Meep Slinger Biofrost.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Biofrost. Congratulations on that victory and a 2-0 weekend for CLG. I thought you had a phenomenal game, but how would you describe your own play today?
Well, I didn't practice that much Bard, and then this was just a really good scenario. I was like, we should play it, and it worked out well.
Now, what improvements were made to CLG that allowed you guys to pull off this performance this weekend?
Well, we didn't do anything that special, but right now it's just kind of do or die, and we still kind of have a chance. It requires multiple teams kind of losing some games, so we do have a chance. It's kind of slim, but we're kind of just taking it one game at a time, and if we can win all of our games but not make it playoffs, we're still happy that we won all of our games.
And I want to ask you a little bit about playoffs, but first, Huhi mentioned yesterday that he has passed the shot calling torch on to you. How are you enjoying those new responsibilities?
I mean, I guess it's fun. Yeah, it's just fun, I guess. I mean, everyone contributes, and we have this system where I guess everyone communicates, and people were really on top of it today, and that's why we had such a clean game. People were giving their options. Everyone was really on top of their game, and it felt good to win.
Is there anything difficult about the role of shot calling that maybe you're working on right now?
Well, this game we were really ahead, so it wasn't that difficult, but when you're behind and one decision can lose your team the game, then it's pretty hard, but today was not so bad.
So CLG is not out of it yet for that road to playoffs, but it is going to be difficult. You have both Fox and TSM for your future matches. How are you keeping hopes high and staying confident?
Well, if we lost this game, then we would have been all right, I guess we're out. So now we're 2-0, so there's still a chance. We just have to win all of our remaining games. Not that hard. I mean, a little bit hard, but yeah, we just have to do well against Fox and TSM, and TSM has been looking a lot better with each week.
I'm sure you have the CLG fans behind you. Congratulations again on your weekend, and for more on the game, let's hear from the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Avli. A very solid win put together by CLG here for a 2-0 weekend, taking down Cloud9 yesterday, Liquid today. And hey, we get the Reignover special, the Olaf, back in the meta.
Yeah, and I really like what CLG did with this draft. We talked about wanting them to win bot lane. They have that last pick Bard to make sure that they get a good matchup down there. Their other laners were not really lane-dominant champions, so maybe a little less early game focus than we were saying. But still good laners who can combo well together within this team comp. Ori, Olaf, Maokai is a pretty well understood dive comp, and you have Bard to kick things off.
Yeah, and when I look at Team Liquid as well, I was saying that they should make sure top lane wins, and they saved their last pick for the Trundle, which actually did give CLG the opportunity to counter pick support. So I thought it was interesting how CLG kind of played around bot lane, smashed it so hard, and then even though Impact had about a 30 CS lead at 10 minutes and took the turret pretty much solo, it didn't matter because they couldn't play around it.
Now, Biofrost said that the Bard kind of came out of nowhere, didn't have a lot of practice on it, but the Olaf, the Orianna, the rest of the team comp crafted by CLG didn't necessarily come out of nowhere.
Yeah, so I was watching CLG and solo queue yesterday, and 4 of them were in the same Challenger solo queue game against a Blaze Olive and Griggs Orianna Olaf, who, by the way, smashed that game. Look at Griggs.
12-1.
12-1 and 11. And, you know, obviously these teams do scrim, they do practice, but if 12 hours ago you get smashed by Olaf Ori, you're like, you know what? We could do the same thing on stage the next day, right, guys?
I love it. And the funny thing is, we've heard CLG say that they're pretty flexible in their comps, where they're like,
this is week one. Yeah, week 1 zillion.
Funny things about that game: the 4 CLG members had Arrow in the top lane on one of his accounts, and they were playing against Voyboy's Trist
with Flame in the top lane.
And Flame in the top lane.
Yeah, so it's one of those games. Hey, I'll take a loss in solo queue if it means I beat Team Liquid the next day.
You can still spectate high elo solo queue from the client. If you go to the ranked ladder, it shows you who's in game. I do that pretty much Saturday nights, and I get LCS picks the next day by watching them.
Wow, there you go. That's why you predicted CLG to win.
Always watching.
The win conditions, they floated back up here. Let's talk about how closely the teams followed them.
I mean, they obviously attacked the bot lane very aggressively in the draft with that early pick. the late pick of the Bard, and then in the game, their early action around the bot lane was completely where they focused with their early Reignover ganks, and that's the big thing for Team Liquid is that we always talk about how like when Doublelift falls behind, this team looks pretty useless, and it happened again here.
Yeah, and this was a bit of a weird gank. Reignover sat in the brush, popped Ghost, waited for it to run out, and then decided to dive, but it still worked. This was a beautiful Bard ultimate into a 5-man dive that could have just worked as a 4-man dive because of how perfect that CC chain ended up being, and that's kind of how they just broke that game open.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. That's exactly kind of textbook game plan against Team Liquid. There's some weird stuff in the top side that we were talking about, like, you know, you lost your turret at 11 minutes, but held on to 6 stacks of minion dematerializer. Is that really what you want to do, Hans? Or excuse me, Darshan. You also started TP against him when you could have took a knight for early laning. There was some weird stuff going on in the game that you still want to see cleaned up. But like, hey, if this is like how they're going to play, this is a great game.
Right, and it is, you know, what we want to see out of Impact in terms of on the back half of the split, more improvement in those kind of tank matchups, getting to play the bruiser-oriented side of it this time around. But it wasn't enough to bring, you know, Team Liquid back from the deficit suffered in the bot lane.
And it's weird that this team is so bad at playing from behind. You can see 0-5 when they don't have a gold lead at 20, which is why early game is such a premium for this Team Liquid team. You'd expect with all of the veterans that they have just littering this team, they would be better from behind. But it just, they don't have the team play to come together. And even there, they didn't have the team play to play around a fed Trundle when other guys were behind.
That's the thing, too, is it's not like these are massive deficits. Like, oh, well, they're down 10K at 20. I can't believe they didn't come back. It's like these are like 1 to 2K deficits, which other teams do come back from reliably if they are a well-coordinated team.
By all means. You saw the lower third earlier. Biofrost received player of the game. We did want to take another look at a play of his within this one for a little misplay, outplay. Fun times
so
on the
this
Bard.
is interesting. He Bard ults, and then he flashes to the other side of them to get his Bard Q off. What we were thinking was maybe it was for the Braum Unbreakable, and seeing that it was up in that one, we were wondering, like, was it literally just a useless flash to get on the other side? I think he was worried the shield would block the Q.
But the shield comes up anyways, and I guess because you get the Tristana first, you do get the
Then you're going to stun, but I think if you Q the Braum, it would break the Q. I'm going to have to test it after, Mark.
Right.
I'm saying it's an outplay.
That's because
it's an outplay.
I'll say it's an outplay only because I'm not positive on the Braum Bard interaction, because there are some weird ones, like the Nami bubble pops on Braum shield, but you still get the AoE lift up. Right. And I remember one time seeing the Braum block the Q, but you still get like the tail thing behind that gets the second stun. I'm not sure if that's
conditional outplay. If we test this and it works either way,
we're gonna roll it back.
That is a straight up misplay flash.
Yeah, we'll retcon it at the end of the day.
Hey, they got the kills. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean,
if you walk away with the kills, then it's an outplay.
Yeah,
or at least that's what you type in all chat.
This is some fun where Jan and I were like,
outplayed.
Why did he flash? Yeah.
Or the fact that Reignover had his Ghost in the brush for like 15 seconds before the gank, and they're talking about the shot calling system. Where is it part of the system when your Ghost runs out, then go?
That's the cue.
That's the cue.
We need the 15-second countdown. When the timer reaches 0, we all go, right? It's just a really well thought out.
What's funny is
I'm glad you guys are watching the analyst yesterday. Great analysis, Weeper.
What? Come on.
Them, dude.
I know. I'm just kidding about the countdown time.
CLG, obviously the road is tough for them to make the playoff run, but they did put the 2-0 together. We've got to talk about the fact that they've got some pretty tough opponents in Echo Fox and TSM still to get through, as well as, you know, you got to get the expected wins over FlyQuest and Optic.
You know the most CLG thing to do is Biofrost just had that interview about winning out and be like, yeah, we just got to play well against Fox and TSM.
Right.
They're going to lose to FlyQuest.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's just going to happen, I feel like, at this point.
The NALCS.
And then they'll actually beat Echo Fox the next day.
Yeah, some weird stuff will happen.
I don't really know. We're going to head to a break. When we return, Optic Gaming look to pull off the upset over Echo Fox. Don't go anywhere.
They play anything top. We're insta-locking Shen. As soon as I see their top laner. No.
Portal opportunity as well. They're actually now going to finally reveal themselves, but already took the turret damage. Oh, pop there. They're just going to zone it down into Olleh. Might be enough damage. It is so.
Coming by
here.
here.
What a wonderful binding from Biofrost. Match 2 on the stun. Huhi down here as well. Just getting some damage down. Ulti burnt. Will catch him. Reignover going to run straight in. Here's Huhi also ready. No flash over the play on the impact earlier. He is going to go down.
I'm in Trundle. I'm on Trundle. Hey, get Trundle. Go. Anything.
And TL just trying to fight this banner minion. Double kill though. Doublelift face checks the ball and falls there to Huhi.
CLG for sure. Counterlogic Gaming, 2-0 weekend. Faith Age, it's going to happen.
Welcome to Assist of the Week, presented by State Farm. Since we know the importance of lending a hand, we want to highlight players and plays that help the team bring home the big W. If you have a favorite assist from this week that you want us to highlight, tweet the clip with the hashtag NALCS and the hashtag State Farm Assist, and we may feature it in a future episode. So get out there and bring some support.